Hello, I'm Ikalon, and this will just be a short video where I share some tips on drawing digital art. Tips will mainly be based on Photoshop, but I believe some of them can be applied to other softwares as well. Anyway, first up, I would like to talk about the workspace. So usually I would leave the layers and colors on my left because I'm right-handed, so that when I draw, I can still look at the layers and everything I need to access on the left. Right. And then I usually go down to Windows, Arrange, and then I'll click New Window for the work that I'm working on. You can see it's a duplicate. And I will drag this to the side, zoom out, and then squish it. So how this helps me is I have now have a thumbnail view of my artwork here. So you see, if I move the left, the right stays the same, even if I mirror it, or if I draw, it will reflect on the right. So how this helps me is I usually upload my work online, right, to Twitter and Pixiv, and typically the images are viewed on a phone and it's quite small. So I want to see how my picture looks when it's just a thumbnail. So I have a better sense of whether my illustration looks good or not. So I keep this thumbnail on the right, and just to see whether it looks good at all stages of the process. Okay, moving on, I will talk about my brushes. I bought a book from Minion. That's the artist. I think if you can't search her name with just Minion, you can search Minion Works. Maybe that could help. But anyway, she made a book teaching us how to draw skin and draw shadows on skin. And with it came a pack of brushes for Photoshop. So these are all the brushes. I mainly use this tree, and I also have another brush that I download online, which is basically a pencil brush. So where I use them, regarding where I use them, for the pencil brush, I use them when I'm drawing roughs, and then when I'm doing line art, I will use this beta brush, and when I'm coloring, I will also use the beta brush. Then when I'm drawing shadows or details, I will use the hard and the soft brush accordingly. So that's it for brushes. Moving on, I would like to talk about coloring. So let's see, I'll just remove these first and show you my color group. Okay, maybe I should put the line art so it looks a little better. Okay, so what you'll notice is that under my color, I have a lot of groups. And how it actually works is that I have a base color which fills the entire page with this color, and I put a layer mask in the group. So whenever I draw, it reveals the color below. And then I can create this, which sort of works like a layer mask or a clipping mask. And then if I do this, right, let's say if I duplicate this, I can create another clipping mask. So let me show you how this works. Maybe I should duplicate this. Okay, so go down here, move my brown hair up, remove my color. Oh wait, I might have made a mistake. Okay, move this up so it doesn't interfere with the clipping. And then take this away. Okay, so you see how this work is. I'll do it on a blank one first. Okay, so if I control A, which is select all, and then delete, I can delete everything in the layer mask. So if we ignore this layer for now, we just have the base layer, the group, and the layer mask. So what happens is every time I'm using the brush, right, I'm actually erasing the black part or drawing a white part on the layer mask. So what happens is it creates or it reveals the color that is supposedly beneath this layer mask. I'm not sure if that makes sense. So I can very easily control my color. I can also use like a what do you call this, lasso, and then fill it. Works like this. And then if I want to draw mixed colors on top of it, I can, like this. You'll notice that it's actually its own thing, but because I made it so that it only appears above the base, it works like a clipping mask. Best part is I can do this again and actually create a clipping mask. Let me change this to something different. And you will notice that it's like a clipping mask within a clipping mask within a base layer. So this purple part will not go outside this gray part. So that's how I do my color. Let me delete this. Alright, so I have a base layer. You can add a color layer by clicking this icon and then click solid color. Pick whichever color you want, and then that's it. I would usually delete the layer mask so it's just one solid color, since I already have a layer mask up here. And then I can also easily change colors like this by putting whichever base color to the top. And then create another layer, create a layer mask there, and you have a sort of clipping mask. Create a third layer, and you can also sort of create another clipping mask. So that's how I do my color. No, let me delete the whole thing. Okay, so you can see this is how I draw my hair. So I have this, right? Just the base layer, and I create the shine on top of it. So that's color. Another thing about color is filling up the pages with color. Right, let me show you how I do this. So usually I'll have line art, right? Alright, I group them all. It's a little bit convoluted. Actually, wait, before that, let me just show you this. Okay, where is my hair? Let's use hair back. So you can see that this layer is actually the layer for the back of the hair. All I do here is I create clipping mask, and then I do some sort of color tracing on the hair so it looks a little bit brighter. Let me turn on the color so you can see the effects. Okay, so I go back to here. You can see that without color trace, the back of the head is very prominent. But if I do this, it lightens it up a little bit and it looks a little bit better. So that's color tracing. So how I actually fill up my canvas with color is typically I would have this line art layer or line art group. I would duplicate it and then merge all the layers. Remember to keep your original line art layer with all the groups so you can fix it later. But with this line art copy, right, I can do an action. So let me just check my actions. How do I expand this? Oh, there we go. All right. So this is the 2-pixel fill that oh, by the way, most of the tips that I share here are learned from this illustrator called Saito Naoki. So if you need more tips, you can probably watch his video. Again, his name is Saito Naoki. Alright, so I have this action here called 2-pixel fill. Let me see. So what I will do is I'll create another layer here, And you can name it whatever you want. I like to call it gray black, right? And then I would invert the color so nothing shows. Right. So I bound this to Shift F2. So I would click on the line art copy and use the magic wand on this layer. Because if you notice, if I click on this layer, even if I select the layer mask, I can't use the magic wand, right? Can't use the magic wand. So click on the line art layer that's merged, and then use the magic wand. I highlight it, and I press Shift F2. Fill is not available. I see. Let me do this then. Let's try. Okay. Let's try this again. Shift F2. There we go. Okay, so what happens is I expand the there's a when you use the fill tool, right? I think under the settings somewhere. I forgot exactly where it is. You can edit the fill to expand a little bit. So I set it to expand by 2 pixels. And then what happens is it will select, I'll use the magic wand and I'll select, let's say here, right? And what happens is I will go to this part, which is the layer mask. Then I'll switch to fill, and I'll fill in this area. Then, since I filled in this area, it'll take the color of this color layer and fill it up. But this is not the end goal here. Maybe select this color. What I actually want is the shape of the fill in this gray background. So let me show you here. I can draw any color I want, right? But I want it to be limited within the hair and the face. So what I'll do is I'll alternate click this, Control A to select all, then Control X to cut. Click on this layer mask, and then Control Shift paste to paste it in the exact place. And then I can change the color here. I can paste the color here. I can change it to whatever color I want. So typically, I would do this for my color groups, right? Let's say the hair brown. So I would do that part with the parts of the hair that is brown, right, on the gray layer. Then I'll copy the layer mask on the gray layer and paste it in this brown color layer so that the brown part shows up here. So that's how I do coloring. Then if there are some parts that are difficult to reach with this fill, then I'll use the brush and zoom in and clean up a little bit. Typically, I'll put on this lime green background so that it's easier to see if there's any part that's not filled. And what else did I want to say? Right. There is also a way that if sometimes I have a larger area that I want to fill up that is very difficult to fill with the wand and the brush, I'll use the pen, create the shape, and then I'll press F2. So action is called pen fill. This one, I don't think Saito Naoki taught it. I saw another artist do it and I just copied it. So basically, I set the selection so when you do this, right, you can have a selection Then I select to fill, and I delete the path, because whenever you create something like this, right, you actually create a layer, and I don't want that, so I deleted it. So that's what happens with this pen fill. And the pen erase works the same. You know, let me just demonstrate. So if I do this, press F2, I can fill it. Then let's say if I don't want this part, I can press F3 and it'll delete it. So that's how it works. I'm not sure if I explained this adequately enough. But once again, if you need to reference the actions, they are right here. Okay, let me continue deleting all of this. So that's drawing and coloring. I guess the last part is about effects. Let me just revert everything to the original state. Okay, so once I have everything down right with the line art and the color, I would click line art, then shift click color so I have all the layers selected. I'll duplicate them by dragging it over to the plus sign, and then I would merge them so that they are just one image like this. Because what I need to do now is to convert it to a smart filter, and this only works on a single layer. That's why I have to turn it into one layer. And with this, I can use things like Gaussian blur and blur the whole image. But again, we don't want to make the whole thing blur. So what I will do is I'll use perhaps a lasso, circle this part of the face, and press delete so that the face is clear. But sometimes you can see very clear lines where around right here, you can see that the blur is not very pretty. So this is where I would pick up my brush, go to the soft brush, and actually no, I should pick up my eraser instead. Select soft brush, increase the size a little bit. All right, so if you see this edge here, I would just erase it. So now it transitions smoothly from clear to blur. So that's the last part about effects. And yeah, that's about it for all my tips. If you combine everything together, you should have something that looks nice. And here's my background. Background is basically very simple. I have this that I draw with the hard brush layer, and I added a little bit of gradient at the bottom. And yeah, I think that's about it. Maybe I can show you guys my rough a little bit. So you see, you'll notice that actually I have this gray border around, right? That's because I actually use a, where is it? Image. Right, I use a canvas. So I expand the width of my image, because if you start with just the image, right, you'll get this border, inner border here. But sometimes I like to draw outside the border, so I use canvas and I increase the canvas size so I get this gray part around. And so what happens is, whoops, okay, maybe not like that. Can I delete layer mask? Right. So what happens is I will draw outside the actual image area, and then I can, let's say it's an image. I can move it around to see where I want the character to be exactly in this image. Right, I can move it around. And then once I feel like I'm satisfied with where it should be, I will create a layer mask on the group, right? And then I will use this square lasso thingy. I'll select the area of the image, and I'll press Ctrl Shift Inverse. Whoops. Ctrl Shift Inverse. Did I do that right? Ctrl Shift Inverse. Yep. to select the area outside what I've selected, and I'll press delete, and that would delete the what do you call it? The image that's outside the frame. However, what you'll notice is that if I just move everything that's beneath the layer mask, I can still see it like this, right? What I've drawn is actually not deleted. So that's about it for my art tips. I mainly made this video so that I wouldn't forget what all my tricks are in case I ever have an art block again. So I hope it is helpful to you. Right? And that's about it for the video. I hope you will have fun drawing art digitally, or maybe you draw traditionally and you're looking at this video for fun, but I hope it has been helpful to you. I'll probably make another version of this video someday in the future to make it more streamlined, but this is mainly for myself. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.